राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे।
हरे कृष्ण विष्णु राम।
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे।
राम राम राम
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to you, and all glories to assembled devotees. Guru Maharaj, we have 14 participants. Are we continuing with Gita today?
Yeah, we'll finish it up with the last 9 chapters.
Okay, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah, we did a synopsis on the first 9. We'll do the finishing synopsis to complete the 18 chapters. Okay. Om Gyan Timirandasya Gyanajana Salakaya Chaksa Undalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesa Sunyavari Pastyatya De Satarine Panchakalpa Tarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, for those of you who came for the previous talk, we did the first 9 chapters and a synopsis on each chapter, highlighting some of the main points. And so we wanted to continue and complete the 18 chapters today. So what we'll do is we'll begin with chapter 10. And the chapter is entitled The Opulence of the Absolute. In this chapter, Krishna establishes him as the supreme object of worship, as the cause of all causes, as the source of everything. He says, Aham Adi Devanam. Out of all the demigods, I am the source of the demigods. Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. Matat Sarvat Pravartante. Iti Matva Bhajanti Man Buddha Bhava Samanvitaha. I am the source of everything spiritual and material. Everything comes from me. And he concludes the verse, the one who knows this is actually wise, and then they worship me in full devotion. That verse, which establishes Krishna as the source of everything, including the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita, which is sometimes left out by those who read the Bhagavad Gita, or by the commentaries who like to make a different presentation on Gita, not giving it the credit to the Supreme Lord Krishna as the speaker of Bhagavad Gita. So he established, that's verse number 8 within the 10th chapter. Verse 9 is about the importance of associating together and chanting the glories of the Lord. 10 is for those who are in complete devotion to Krishna. Krishna guides them personally from within the heart to his lotus feet. And the 11th verse, which is the last in these 4 series of verses. Now I should mention these 4 series of verses are called the Chatur Sloki. The Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita have 4 main verses which unfolds into the entire philosophical teachings of the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam, respectively. So in the Bhagavad Gita, these four are called the nutshell verses. Nutshell means that within it, all the ingredients are there, but they're in a packed form, so they need to be unpacked. And that the unpacking is done by Krishna himself as he explains himself, the jiva, the living entities, and material energy, time, and the activities which bring one to his lotus feet, along with material activities. So Krishna established himself as and in the 11th verse, he says, I dwell within your heart, and I give that knowledge by which you can come to me directly. So verses 10 and 11 are similar, but 11 gives a little bit more detail on the same point. And then in the next two verses, Arjuna speaks and establishes Krishna as the Supreme Lord, supporting that statement by all the statements of the great souls such as Narada, Vyas, Asita, Deva, like that. So those two verses are fundamental because people need to hear that Krishna is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the speaker of the Gita. And then through the remaining of the chapter, it's the wonderful phenomenon of the power of Krishna, his beauty, his grandeur, his sublimity within the realm of the greatest material manifestations. And then he ends after saying that I am none different than, of me, I am of warriors, I am Skanda, I'm of mighty creations, I am the Himalayas, of weapons, I am the thunderbolt, of hymns, I am the chanting of japa. He goes on to a whole series of outstanding elements within the material energy just for those who need that in order to see Krishna within everything. But then at the end, after carefully mentioning all of these different features of his energies, he says, but this is just a drop, spark, insignificant part of my existence. It really is even so insignificant, it's not even measurable. So we get understanding of how wonderful Krishna is and how powerful he is. So that's a little bit about the 10th chapter. And the 11th chapter is kind of a unique chapter. It's the universal form. Lord Krishna decides to reveal his universal form to Arjuna. So the world will understand who he is. Sometimes we hear that people in this world, they like to claim to be the Supreme Lord or an incarnation of the Supreme Lord. So then the proper challenge to such a person is that, well, if you are, then show me your universal form. And then they may say, well, you're not qualified to see it. They also come back and say like that. So we say, well, have you shown it to anyone? And if they say no, then that means you haven't been able to make any disciples who are qualified to see the universal form, if you claim to be God. So Krishna wanted to dispel all this idea, and yet the living entity is God, and those who claim to be God, by showing his universal form. And in the universal form, everything is there. All the beautiful and glorious manifestations and all the horrible, ferocious manifestations of the material energy. When Arjuna saw that, he immediately became overwhelmed. He started offering prayers, but then within his heart, he said, please return to your two-armed form. This really doesn't do anything for me. It just causes me fear, that's all. So using Arjuna to teach the entire world that he is that Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this 11th chapter is quite unique. And then Krishna ends the chapter by saying, only by undivided devotional service can I be known, standing before you and thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. So this is the point of the Gita. Gita is about bhakti, and bhakti is the way to Krishna. Not gyan, not karma, not yoga, not any form of activity except bhakti. Bhaktyamam abhajananti. Krishna will say that again in the 18th chapter. The 12th chapter is entitled Devotional Service. And then Krishna explains in the first two verses that he's not impersonal, he's personal. And those who meditate on his personal form, they are in the right position. And then he explains how those who try to realize the Supreme in an impersonal way, it's a very troublesome process, and they're likely not to succeed. It's very difficult. And then in the series of verses starting around verse 14, I think, and goes on for about 10 verses, he explains, if you can't come to me in pure devotion, then at least, cultivate knowledge about me. In other words, he gives concessionary statements one after another. If you can't do this, do this. And if you can't do this, then do this. And if you can't do this, then do this. So he goes down the line, making it easier and easier, that allowing people on some level to come in contact with him. And so this is somewhat concessionary for those who can't come to the highest process. But then, of course, he recommends the highest process. And then he ends by saying those who are friendly to all living entities and engage in devotional service are very dear to me. And that's the 12th chapter is a quite small chapter. It's only 20 verses. The 13th chapter is called Nature, the Enjoyer, and Consciousness. And this is very Gyan. It's the beginning of the Gyani section. And Krishna starts off. This is a very philosophical, those who are philosophically inclined, who like philosophical presentations of knowledge, here's where you can apply your study. One of our senior devotees many years ago wrote a complete commentary on the whole 13th chapter. The book is called The 13th Chapter. And it describes the difference between the body, the soul, and the super soul, and liberation from this material world in a very detailed and philosophical way, explaining that the body is called the kshetra, or field, and the living entity is the enjoyer of the field, but then there's another person in the body called the knower of the field, that is the super soul. So this is a very interesting chapter, and there's a lot of very difficult statements by Krishna and Prabhupada's purports to give a little more of a detailed understanding of the nature of liberation and the difference between personal understanding of the Supreme and impersonal understanding. The 14th chapter is called The Three Modes of Material Nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, and how these modes affect us, how they act upon us, how we can transcend what are the symptoms of the different modes, and how to reach the transcendental stage. This is an interesting chapter because in that chapter, it says there's nothing beyond the three modes of material nature. So as far as the material energy is concerned, it's made up of these three modes. So if you know how the modes are working, you can have a way of avoiding getting trapped by the material modes of nature, because they are like ropes, and ropes can bind. A rope is meant to tie something up or tie someone up. So the word guna means mode, and guna means rope. So the same word, guna, refers to both rope and mode. So the modes are like ropes, which they bind us either to foolishness in the mode of ignorance, into strong endeavor for material happiness in the mode of passion, or to selflessness in the mode of goodness with the principles of higher consciousness and pious credits, many pious credits. Okay, that's the mode of the 14th chapter. 15th chapter is called the Yoga of the Supreme. And the ultimate of knowledge is to detach oneself from the entanglement of the material world. In the first 5 verses, the material world is given an analogy of the banyan tree. Now, those of you who are familiar with a banyan tree, especially big ones, you can't figure out where it starts and where it ends. The roots are growing upward, the branches are downward. It's a very complex tree. In our temple in Hawaii, in the behind the temple, in the grounds behind the temple, we have a very huge, gigantic banyan tree there. And I've seen banyan trees in India, but this one rivals many of the banyan trees that I've seen in India. So this is a little bit of an understanding of the complexity of the material energy and how one is entangled with that complexity. Sometimes we wonder, why is it so hard to become Krishna consciousness? Well, we don't really know how entangled we are in this material energy. That entanglement has been there for millions of lifetimes. So although we can get out in one lifetime, we should know that the entanglement is quite deep. And then Krishna goes on to explain that knowledge comes from me, remembrance comes from me, forgetfulness comes from me. And then he establishes himself as the supreme, and one who surrenders unto him and engages in devotional service has reached the perfection of activities. That is called the Yoga of the Supreme. It's one of the more important chapters in Bhagavad Gita, and it also is also a small chapter. It only has 20 verses. It's pretty much if we can learn that chapter, that's enough. That chapter is enough to attain liberation from material entanglement. In the 16th chapter, the divine and demoniac natures, as Krishna is spending a lot of time in different places in his different talks about what is the divine qualities, he doesn't put much emphasis on it in this chapter. Therefore, the first 3 verses, he lists what are the divine qualities, and then Srila Prabhupada's purports are quite lengthy, describing those divine qualities. But then for the remainder of the chapter, it's all about the demoniac qualities. Those who do not follow scriptures, those who act whimsically, those who do not, cause harm to others by making big plans. Just like there's one verse, so much wealth do I have today, and so much more will be mine tomorrow. He is my enemy, and I have killed him, and my other enemy will also be killed. I am perfect. I'm surrounded by aristocratic relatives. I am happy, perfect, and powerful. In this way, I shall give in charity and I shall rejoice. Like that. So sometimes we question, is there a conspiracy? Here's a conspiracy verse. The demons are always making plans to cause trouble to the living entities in this world by their propaganda, by their war making, by their ways of exploiting people in different ways. So Prabhupada says that there is an eternal, this is the word eternal is important to note, eternal battle between the demons and the demigods or the divine. This battle is going on in the lower planets, in the higher planets, in the middle planets, on this planet. It's happening right now. And there's a verse to confirm Prabhupada's statement that this battle between the demons and the demigods is an eternal battle. The demons want to control everything for their own sense gratification, and the devotees want to take the property of the Lord and use it in the service of the Lord. So the demons, and you can go through the chapter, you'll see what are the demoniac qualities. They don't have any cleanliness. They don't follow any rules and regulations. They act whimsically. They're they're full of lust, anger, and greed. So it's a very good chapter to study so you can know what are those qualities. Okay, and then of course we go on to the next chapter, and that's 17, 3 kinds of faith. What are faith and acts in the different modes, of material aid? What is happiness in the mode of goodness, happiness in the mode of passion, happiness in the mode of ignorance, charity in the 3 modes, determination in the 3 modes. So the different qualities and characteristics are analyzed and explained within each of the different modes and how they appear differently. Like charity. Charity in the mode of ignorance is giving to an unqualified person at the wrong time, like that, with no understanding of what is the benefit or what. Charity in the mode of passion is like giving something in order to gain something. I give in charity because I want to be known as a charitable gift giver. I give in charity because I know by giving in charity, I'll also get in charity. So that's charity in the mode of passion. And the charity in the mode of goodness means to give at the right person, at the right time, and for the right reason. Like that. So that in this section here is a lot. And then he also talks about scriptural injunctions, which are meant to purify the heart and lead one on the path of pure devotion to Krishna. Conclusion, the perfection of renunciation. He sums up a lot of what he says. He explains what is Brahman realization, the glories of the Gita, the conclusion of the Gita, the highest path of knowledge, unconditional loving surrender. He talks about the qualities of a Brahmin, the qualities of a Kshatriya, the qualities of a Vaishya, the activities of a Sudra. And then at the end, everything is summed up by Krishna by saying, Manmana bhava madbhakto mam yaji mam namaskuru mami vaisasi satyam te pratijana priyosi me. Become my devotee, worship me, offer your homage to me, think of me. If you do these 4 things, Srila Prabhupada said, then you have done the whole process of bhakti within these 4 categories. And Krishna follows in the next verse by saying, in this verse, Krishna says, abandon all other ideas on how you think you can make advancement and just surrender to me. If you do, I'll take charge. When I take charge, everything becomes natural and easy. And then you don't become bewildered about how to process devotional service. Everything becomes clear when you surrender to Krishna. So I can't do anything, but with your mercy, I can do everything. You simply guide me, you instruct me directly, you instruct me through my representative, the spiritual master. You just guide me, and I am yours. It's a mood of submission, a mood of complete dependence on the mercy of the Lord. And then Bhagavad Gita finally ends by saying, Arjuna is there, Krishna is there. When these two things are there, then you have everything. In other words, when the pure devotee spiritual master is there, and when Krishna is there, then everything you need, all power, all opulence, victory, all strength, everything is there with these two personalities present. And then a lot of the 18th chapter is Krishna summing up what he said previously in the previous chapters. Okay, so these are the 18th chapters, a little bit of a summation on each one. I didn't really go too deep in anything. Okay, so we'll stop there and see what the devotees would like to say.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. Thank you for briefly summarizing the entire Bhagavad Gita. These last 5 days were so wonderful. It was very nice to hear Bhagavad Gita from you. Yesterday, you said in the class that about the example about the musk deer who doesn't know that the fragrance is within him. So just like that, thank you for reminding that, the knowledge and bliss is within us. Yeah, thank you so much.
We're pure spirit soul.
Yeah. So, devotees, if you have any realizations, any discussions, or any questions for Guru Maharaj, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to you Maharaj. Thank you very much for the wonderful summarization of the chapters. Maharaj, I have a question in regards to a particular verse, which is the divine and the demonic natures. It's text 19. The translation says that those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, I perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence into various demonic species of life. So I have a question that does it apply to everybody who is envious of Krishna as a supreme personality? And if that is so, because of their envious nature, they are perpetually, and the word is quite heavy, perpetually. So they have no chance to actually progress. They would be perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence or into the lower species of life.
Yeah, for those who are demoniac or carry demoniac qualities. So that verse 19 follows the other verses where Krishna explains what are their different characteristics of demons. He's not, a person can be envious, but not be somewhat of a bad quality. But divine, he says envious and mischievous. Now, mischievous means that it's causing problems for everyone. In other words, he's actively engaged in causing harm to others. they make plans to take over the world. They make plans to, so once they die, they fall into demoniac species of life like that. And sometimes even in demoniac species of life, they become powerful and again rise up in that species to continue with their nefarious activities. I can speak about some stuff that is what's the word? I can't really confirm it. It's unconfirmable, but I know it's true about, the demons that have appeared on our planet in different forms within the last 20, 50 years as different politicians in this, and many of the different powerful politicians that came up and left were actually big, gigantic demons. And even today, you have powerful demons that are, using their mystic, some of them have mystic power, or they know how to control. Most of the demons are very, very intelligent materially. They're material intelligence. But of course, after they leave that body, they go down. But in Kali Yuga, there's so many demons. They appear, they cause mischief, they go down to lower species. They stay in lower species. Like that. And you see, even in the low, there are rakshasas and jinns and danavas, and the demoniac species of life are very variegated, just like the demigods. There's so many different kind of demigods. There's the siddhas, the kinaras, the charanas, the gandharvas. So these are all celestials. So on the opposite end, there's also so many kinds of demoniac species. And many of them live in lower planets. You see, the thing is, and this is how it works, the karma of the planet really manifests a particular type of character that appears on the planet. So the more lower the karma of the planet goes, the more the demons enter into this atmosphere, because people take birth by karma. And so this is supposed to be the middle planet. That means a balance between piety and impiety. But then again, when that balance gets changed to one or the other, then the atmosphere changes accordingly. So now we have a very imbalance where demoniac nature is pretty much apparent in everybody's life. People don't know. But then there are demons. And that's what Krishna is talking about, full-fledged demons. They're envious of the Lord, they're envious of each other, they're envious of themselves, and they're always working for the destruction of the world. This is a fact. It's not some fictitious thing. So yeah, those persons, they take birth, and then in their next life they become some demoniac species, and they may have a chance, by the mercy of a pure soul, to come back. But as long as they don't get the mercy of a pure soul, they stay within that species life after life after life.
Thank you, Maharaj. So, and just a follow-up clarification on that one, Maharaj. So, if anybody is also so envious because there are so many false religions or false gurus who claim we are God or some person is God, that would also apply in this verse, that that they are also casted perpetually because they're mischievous. They don't cause too much trouble materially to the world in terms of wars and killing people, but spiritually they lead the whole society into darkness.
Well, I don't think Krishna is referring to them, but they have many of the qualities of a demon. They don't have the activities so much of a demon. They're just trying to, they're intoxicated by their own power. And they're using their own power to exploit people for money, followers, and prestige, like that.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you for the clarification.
Uh-huh. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glory Srila Prabhupada, all glory to you, Guru Maharaj. I hope you're well, my Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for this class. This is really nice to go through Bhagavad Gita's teachings and what Krishna has taught us, basically. I wanted to ask about one verse specifically when Krishna says that just surrender to the self-realizing soul, and they can impart you the knowledge and inquire from him submissively about the surrendering to the spiritual master, basically. So I wanted to ask, like many of us devotee, like myself personally as well, I always think that I'm not able to serve you personally, and as much as I would like to, because there are so many things like goes on with family and with local temple services. And it's always very important, I personally think, that to have a relationship between a spiritual master and a disciple, so that because a spiritual master is the one who is going to take us back basically to Krishna, and there is no other way. So how does that relationship builds then? Because like, yes, we do try to follow
Based
the
on there are hundreds and hundreds of the disciples who don't even have personal association with the spiritual master, but that doesn't mean that personal association is something that may have been, might not be there, but what's important is the instructions. The personal association can help build the faith and then bring about a greater connection through the instructions, but ultimately the instructions reign as the connection between guru and disciple. Even Prabhupada said, I only was with my spiritual master maybe 10 different times, and I only asked him one question: how can I serve you? So yeah, you have to understand this is a spiritual movement, not a material movement. And spiritual means that we are connected through the process. Personal association but personal association can work in the opposite way too, can bring one down. Personal association is like, it's like a cutting edge. It can use to, just like a knife. A knife can be used to cut your food, or a knife can be used to cause harm to someone. Same knife. So personal association can go either one way or the other. can bring you down or can bring you up, depending on your consciousness in that association. But Bani means words. And that is the foundation for where we actually connect to the spiritual master. There are many devotees who had a lot of personal association with Srila Prabhupada. When Prabhupada left, they lost their enthusiasm for devotional service. And many of them left and never came back. So that means that personal association didn't really give them the understanding they needed to continue with that association on the higher level, which is the Vani. Those who are situated in Vani, they're always connected.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you. I just have one more related question, Guru Maharaj, with this, that it always comes in my mind that whenever to the home deities or temple deities, we offer bhoga and we do the arti and everything. And then we always take the pranam mantra of a spiritual master and Prabhupada. I always feel really very sad, or maybe it just, the thought comes in my mind every day, morning, evening, afternoon, that Krishna is not going to accept my bhoga, but I'm just taking your name as in a spiritual master's name, Prabhupada's name, that through you, Krishna will accept it. But how do we have a strong faith on this process that, yes, they will definitely offer this bhoga to Krishna and Krishna will then accept it. So it just having a faith in ourselves that we are calling them with that so much intensity.
That's not the idea. The idea is, my dear Lord, please accept it. Not like, oh, will he accept it or will he not? No, just say, my dear Lord, please accept it. You have to approach the Lord in a humble way. It's up to him whether he's going to accept it or not. But you have to show your desire. But you can't order Krishna that, well, my guru is here and Prabhupada's here and then you have to accept it. No, it's not like that. It's like, my dear Lord, I'm so unqualified, but somehow or other I've been given this mercy of having a chance to prepare nice food for you and offer some worship. So please accept it. Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
Krishna is Atmarama. He doesn't need anything. There's nothing you can give him, but you can give him your devotion. And devotion is decorated by the quality of submissiveness. Not like, well, all right, Krishna, I did everything right today. Here it is. No, it's not the idea. You have to be humble. You have to think you're unqualified, and you have to offer your offering in that mood. Not like, oh, well, he's got to accept, or I hope he accepts. No, it's just you have to pray that he accepts.
Okay. Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you. It was very useful.
It's all about submission.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Krishna is great.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hari.
Here is relating to this last question. My understanding is, when you do service on behalf of your guru with the right consciousness, then there is no question whether Krishna is accepting or not. Is that okay? Is that right?
No. No, you still have to ask Krishna to accept it in a humble way.
Yeah.
You might do everything right, and everything is there, but
That's why I said with the right consciousness.
not enough. Well, the right consciousness includes, my dear Lord, please accept it. If you, who are we? We can, expect Krishna to accept it, even though we did everything right. Right consciousness means that you are great, and I am small. I'm getting a chance to offer you.
So whatever we do it with the prayers. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Portion, isn't it?
Mhm.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Guru Maharaj, Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Your Holiness. I'm still mulling over DIPTESH Prabhu's question about divine and demoniac species of, how Krishna casts them into lower species of life. But I was also thinking that in this Kali Yuga, the divine and the demoniac natures are within one individual, within us. And there's a constant struggle, speaking of myself, to overcome the demoniac side of me. So, isn't Krishna being very merciful even to the demons and giving them a chance to engage in devotional service in this age and helping them come to a higher consciousness?
Yeah, but you're not a demon. You might exhibit some qualities that the demons may have in some small form. But there are demons who are just demons, They have all what we say inauspicious qualities. They live like that. They're always angry. They're always greedy. Sometimes we meet people. I've seen people who you can see them. You can see this is a demon. You just know he's a demon. Just the way he carries himself. Once you learn the science of bhakti, you get that ability. But if you're talking about yourself, you're not a demon. You may exhibit some of the qualities like illusion or uh, anger. These come and go. They come and go. That's one thing. If they're there constantly as part of the character, that's a whole different thing. Yeah, you never met any real demons in your life? Really full-fledged demons.
Right.
You can see. You see everything about them is, you just want to stay away from that person. You can just see it's. Mhm.
I'm just wondering whether, Jagai and Madhai were also delivered by the Lord, and they were so sinful, they were so demoniac, they were so, abominable, and Krishna was so merciful to them. So I'm just thinking, isn't this the most merciful form of the Lord? He's trying to save everyone.
Yeah, but they have to take it.
Right, right.
And sometimes he forces it on them, but still they have to take it at one point.
Okay, thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Guru Maharaj,
Janaba, what is your
Jan-
question?
I can read out to
Let me
you,
see
Guru
if I can
Maharaj.
read it.
I can read
I
it.
got it. I would like to
Okay.
ask how to advance. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. I would like to ask how to advance in devotional service and have a better standard in a practical way.
Organize your life. Every day you chant certain time, you read Bhagavatam at a certain time, you take prasadam at a certain time, you get up at a certain time, take rest like that. Get into an organized schedule with daily activities or devotional activities along with whatever else you need in order to maintain yourself. Regulation helps to fix the mind. Mhm. The advancement is there with the activities, but the tendency is that we chant when we want, we eat when we want, we sleep when we want, we read when we have time. You can't live like that and expect to get advancement in devotional service. You have to be regulated. And in regulation, you can work on quality. Without regulation, it's hard to improve the quality of what you're doing. Regulation. Do we have any more?
Not on the chat. Guru Maharaj, I have a question.
Okay.
In Bhagavad Gita, there is a verse which says a sage has an equal vision to the dog, a dog eater, a brahmana. So how come Krishna, who is the reservoir of all the knowledge, is said to be partial to devotees? I mean, he is impartial, but he's partial to devotees.
It's easy to understand by an example. You have a family. So you have the say the mother of the family. She has many children, and one child is very obedient to the mother, and the other one is not. Her love for the children are equal, but at the same time she treats the children differently according to how they respond to her instructions, guidance, like that. Is that clear? Is that clear?
Yes.
Yeah, he loves all living entities equally, but he says, as you approach me, I reciprocate accordingly. So he's going to give his love back in different ways according to how people approach him or don't approach him.
Yeah.
Is the judge sits on the court, and one man he's awarding a large sum of money, and the other man he's sending to jail for a number of years. Is the judge partial?
No.
No.
Yeah.
He's doing it according to the situation.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. How's the kids?
My kids, yeah, they're good, Guru Maharaj. Yeah, they're good. They're home, and some more time to read Bhagavatam with them, and but yeah, I would love them to go to school.
They're healthy?
Yeah, they're healthy.
Good, good. You need a little time for yourself, huh?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's a real test. It's a testing time for parents now with the children. It's real difficult.
Yeah,
Before we had some support from the outside world. Now we have to do everything ourselves.
yeah,
I wish you the best, though.
yeah. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. They remember you often, and we are so fortunate to hear you. They hear you also. So
Oh, nice.
we all are fortunate. The whole God family is fortunate to see you every day.
Thank you. I look forward to meeting the devotees around the world again. We have plans to again have personal association. Let's see how Krishna arranges it.
Jai.
I hope that will come about in due course of time.
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
Mhm. And your house is one of my favorite places to hang out.
Oh, Jai. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. That's mercy. Your mercy to us.
You are very merciful to everyone. And your husband's even more merciful than you.
Yeah, he's kind. He's very tolerating.
He's an ocean of good qualities.
Yeah, he is, Guru Maharaj.
Okay, so thank you. Sorry for the personal discussion, but I just felt inclined. So,
Guru Maharaj, I just have a quick question. Is that all right?
what happens? I have two choices. I can see either yes or no. So what do you think?
Yes.
You got it.
Okay. I'm thinking, just as we are struggling on so many different issues, do you think in the future in our ISKCON movement, we will see a return of the joint family system where we have grandparents, grandchildren, parents living together, each helping each other like it used to be in the olden days, given that, we really want to take care of our parents and we also want their wisdom for raising our children nicely. It's so difficult.
You have to change the social environment before you can change the family structure. The social environment doesn't allow that. And therefore, you have to recreate that social environment by living a more simple and a more agrarian type lifestyle. It's not going to happen in the way we live now. Social environment has to go along with the family structure. And Prabhupada's plan is there, Banashram.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll stop here. Thank you very much. All glories to the devotees. Vanchikova Tarubhishya, Kripa Sindhu Bevacha, Titanam Pavanebhyo Vaisnavebhyo Namaho Namaha. I really pray that these talks are inspirational for everyone so they can find something at least one thing every day that they can use in their practice of Krishna consciousness.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Guru Maharaj ki jai.
Thank you,
Thank
Guru
you very
Maharaj.
much,
Hare
Guru.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.